Hey everyone, Mike here today with some thoughts here on Last Call BBS, as we load up here. This is a Zachtronics game. Unfortunately, this happens to be the last Zachtronics game we're ever going to get. But on the flip side, it's got some pretty cool stuff. This is kind of a retro PC simulator thing of sorts. There's some story and all sorts of little bits and pieces to kind of piece this together. But effectively, yeah, this is an old PC. You want to dial up to the internet here, get to the BBS, and you download various games and software. So I think we're going to go through this kind of in reverse order. We'll start with the last game and we'll work our way forwards. I will not necessarily do a lot of the puzzle solving stuff. We'll just kind of quickly cover all of these games, at least look at the beginning, and give you an idea of maybe what the first or second solution would look like. That way we're not spoiling anything. Of course, we got some kind of period correct cracktros going, which is always kind of cool. And I like how all of these different games or programs have kind of a different look, feel, vibe, you know, all kind of a same era, but obviously they're all going about it very differently. So this game is super abstract in a lot of ways. You know, you've got an X. That's it. No tutorial, no nothing. There's a little bit of a intro video kind of explaining to you something about the game, but yeah, ultimately you kind of figure out that, hey, I've got this red blob here, we can move it around, and then we could somewhat turn into this, and then this is, yeah, grow this seed into this. So we know that this red thing is a seed. This is a timeline. You know, the fact that every time you move it, you can see the timeline progress. So you go here. When we select the seed, we can see we can divide it if we wanted. And we can divide it in different directions as well. We have a bunch of options there. So we can once again do, let's go up. So let's say this is the right one. So this here would be this one, I believe. We can go across again. Maybe we want to go downwards. And as soon as we do that, we get seeds everywhere. We can finally select the seed and then have it transform into skin. So there we go. That's kind of a simple way of doing it. You might have seen my solution was a little bit different. There's also different typical Zachtronics fashion. There's different solutions as well. So if you wanted to, you know, go and do, you know, this sort of solution, and then you're like, okay, well maybe I can optimize it by transforming, and then immediately starting to multiply one direction, multiply the other. Then we can do up, and then we can go down. So yeah, we've got a lot of different ways, and then there's different, you know, bones and muscle and stuff like that. So that's the first game. Yeah, very, very strange. Again, kind of giving you that little, that mystery, right? Those weird like imported games and stuff where you don't really know what's going on. Well, that's kind of what they're going for. You have this kind of PDA slash note slash kind of history story stuff. I don't think, yeah, I'm trying to find which one it was. Yeah, there's a bit of a history about this one. So yeah, that's kind of what this game's all about. It gives you, as you progress through some of these games, you get more and more info about them, and it's a little bit of a backstory. You're kind of learning about different people and basically the person who owned this computer before you, and how they wrote all sorts of notes, kind of guiding you through it and letting you know how certain things work, so on and so forth. And yeah, Chip Wizard here. This one's one that I've been playing quite a bit. So we got different revisions. We'll take our first revision here and just wipe everything out. And let's see. In A goes to out B. In B goes to out A. So that's pretty straightforward. We can do that. We can use a transistor there to build us a path. And then we can run the design step by step if we wanted, or we could just fully automate it and get to the end. So these are global leaderboards. You can disable them. By default, the game, I don't believe, actually enables them. But if you do want to, you can go in the options and turn it on. So, of course, the game gets more and more complicated. You learn about building a gate where actually be high when both of them are high. So when one of these goes high, it opens up the path here. And so only once both of them are high can we pass the signal through. The problem is if we use a different type of material here to kind of show you the difference. All right, one of these will always pass the signal. So we need a switch, or rather both of these will always pass the signal, but it depends what kind of switch we build. All right. And so, yeah, that's kind of the basics of this one. Of course, there are also capacitors, and then the puzzles get more and more difficult, requiring you to do all sorts of different fancy gymnastics, I guess is the best way to put it. Where, yeah, you're trying to figure out, how to build a certain circuit within the small constraints you're given. It can be pretty tough. But it is possible. And so there you go. We went from 9 to 6 just by removing the extra little bit and squeezing the design. And so we now have a very efficient design. So anyways, yeah, Juicebox Arcade, it's an arcade game. Dungeons and Diagrams, this one's super quick as well. There are basic rules for this game, being that chests have to be in a 3x3 square, and every enemy has to be in a dead end. You can never have a 2x2 open square. And then the numbers along the edge tell you how many of these squares are populated. So it's a little bit like a Sudoku style thing to a certain extent. And so you could kind of figure out some of the solutions, like, 6. Well, there's 5 out of 6. So in this case, I know one of these is going to be empty. And so, depending on the situation, well, there can only be one here. So that means maybe one. Oh yeah, also 6 this way, right? So you got to have a continuous path as well. So I know immediately this won't work because I can't get down here. This needs to be in a 3x3 room, but it could also be 3x3 like this, right? It is 3x3. It doesn't have to be centered necessarily. So maybe the path is here. Probably not. If this guy has to be in a dead end. So that's what this game is. Again, pretty relaxing, pretty fun puzzle game. 20th century food court, rather. Again, we got a very different style crack throw here, as is typical of some of the games back then. Got a very different style, Notice this is another full screen game as opposed to some of the other ones, which were window mode things. This one's, I would say, is more in line with like the Space Cam kind of factory style puzzle games. If you've played some of those before, you kind of know what to expect. And so here's the first design. We get some instructions. Each level give you a set of instructions so you can figure out the mechanics. All right, you got to stack the chips on the tray. You got to dispense cheese and then deliver it, and then complete all the outputs. We get a bit of a hint here for like the stacking machine. If we load the stack and eject functions together, it works on its own. And then we also learn about how to use some of the orders and stuff. As you can see here, when we start, nothing happens. When we want nachos, we deploy nachos. When we want pretzels, we'll deploy a pretzel. And then the barcode scanner here will dispense cheese from our cheese machine. Oops. I did not mean to go fast. So yeah, we can go step by step. So you can see when the chip comes in, stack is lit up, which means it's going to eject. Our scanner here sees it's nacho, which means it's going to trigger the cheese machine. And we're good. And since this is a pretzel, it's going to scan it as a pretzel and it won't do anything. So these games are pretty fun. The more factory style games, you get to compare, you want to go for cost or you want to go for speed. There's different scoring for that stuff. And yeah, the games get progressively more challenging, and you got different machines that you can start buying, and you can start figuring out some of these tougher puzzles. Anyways, yeah, we'll do the solitaire to wrap things up here. I'm just going to show this off. This is like a one of these things. Oh, this. Oh no, I lost progress, I guess. That's unfortunate. It's weird. I went to an older save because of that. Anyways, you can build your model here. You can take it all apart if you want. You've got your little tools to snip them out of the runners, and all your different paints and your tape to tape off stuff, not get overspray. Yeah, it's a pretty neat thing. There's not a whole lot to show off here. Obviously, you've got your decals as well, and yeah, very basic assembly instructions and two different, paint things to look at. So I don't know, mine's not great, but none of the models tend to be great when it's your first time around, anyways, right? And so we'll wrap it up here with a quick round of solitaire. I'll do the easy version so I can breeze through this. Overall, I think this is a pretty decent bundle of games. I think they did a pretty neat thing here trying to... I guess some of these games might have been, either ideas or things that maybe there wasn't enough content or what have you. They just kind of made a neat package where they're able to throw in a lot of just not necessarily unfinished projects, but you kind of get the vibe that a lot of these were something along those lines where they were trying to figure out, maybe they had an idea, they played around with it, they couldn't expand on it that much. Whatever the reason is, they ended up working out pretty well, actually, in this bundle. And so, yeah, I think it's a pretty neat package. It's not going to be for everyone. I could definitely see that being a bit of a problem for some. But at the same time, I've had a lot of fun just going through some of these puzzles and, yeah, just generally trying out different things, bouncing between some of the games, and just appreciating, you know, the different styles of games that they've put in here. And really, the Zachtronics stuff has been really enjoyable throughout the years. I think they spent a lot of time. Wow, I can't believe I've actually messed this up really badly. I say that because I've been it on expert, so expert you only have one slot. You just got to sit there and think about it, which might be my problem right now. I'm not really spending much time thinking about it. Spending a bit more time concentrating on talking aspect, which comes with its own challenges. But anyways, yeah, I think this is a pretty cool package. You know, it's not perfect. It's pretty good though, and like I said, I've had a lot of fun with it. I'm not super far into all of the puzzles, obviously. There's still tons of gameplay left for me to go through, and so I will absolutely be doing that. But at least for now, I believe that is all. I don't think I have anything else to really think about. It is 20 US or like 22.79 Canadian. Again, if you like Zachtronic games, you probably already know if you're gonna get this or not. And so in that case, well, I don't really have much else to say, do I? For folks out there who maybe don't play these kinds of games, in your case, well, I don't know. If you like puzzle games, I don't think this is necessarily a bad bundle. You know, you get a decent amount of variety. I think some of the stuff that they've come up with can be pretty clever. I believe they've also said that there will be more games added to this over time. So it's not like you're just getting you know, it's not going to be just this, but even if it were to be just this, I think it's a pretty decent package regardless. So, you know, I can't complain too much about it. If you do have Game Pass, however, I'll point it out that this game is available on Game Pass, and so you can get it through your current Game Pass subscription for, well, technically $0 because it's part of your Game Pass subscription, right? So yeah, I'd give it a look in that case if you have Game Pass, of course. But with that said, I think that's it. I don't really have too much else to add. I didn't really want to make this too long of a video. I know we're approaching 20 minutes. But, yeah, I don't know. A little bittersweet that this is going to be the last Zachtronics game. But on the other hand, how many people get to close their studios and say, you know, we've reached the end of the road and that's it? It doesn't happen very often. Usually things are a lot more sad than this in some ways. But yeah, here we are. I'm happy that Zachtronics has made games for what feels probably 20 years now. They've been at it for a really long time. If you kind of like some of the stuff that you're seeing, some of these games in particular, you know, there are far more popular games that are, I would say, more worthwhile to look at, right? Space Chem is an early classic one. Infinifactory is pretty cool as well. And Opus Magnum, I think, is probably one of the highest rated Zachtronics games. If you like kind of the more technical stuff, they've got all sorts of other ones out there as well. For those prefer like, you know, programming style ones or things like that. But yeah, with that said, that is Last Call BBS. Like I said, it's a pretty cool package. And so with that said, we'll see you guys next week with another video.